Chelmsford, England. A quiet, unremarkable house in a peaceful neighborhood. The kind of place where life moves slowly, where people nod politely at their neighbors, never suspecting the nightmare that could be unfolding right next door. But inside one particular home on Tennyson Road, something unspeakable had happened. Something so brutal, so horrifying, that even seasoned detectives struggled to process the scene. 19-year-old Ashley Wadsworth lay motionless on the bed. The room told the story of her final moments, blood smeared across the sheets, pooling onto the floor, staining the walls. Over 90 stab wounds. A vicious, frenzied attack. The kind that speaks not just of murder but of pure, unrestrained rage. And the man responsible? He didn't flee. He didn't even try to cover his tracks. Instead, he sat there, calm, almost indifferent, scrolling through his phone as if nothing had happened. Just 2 days earlier, Ashley had packed her bags. Her return ticket to Canada was booked. She had told her friends and family she was ready to come home. She had even posted smiling pictures on social media, capturing what seemed to be the adventure of a lifetime. But behind the happy photos was a much darker reality. And by the time she was ready to leave, it was too late. How does a young woman, full of life and excitement, end up as the victim of such unimaginable brutality? Who was Jack Sepple, the man she had traveled across the world to be with? And why, on that cold February afternoon, did their love story end in one of the most shocking crimes in recent history? Welcome to True Crime Alibi, the channel where we break down the most disturbing real-life cases with all the details you won't hear anywhere else. If you're fascinated by true crime and want to uncover the full story behind cases like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. This is one case you won't want to miss. Now let's go back to where it all began. Ashley Wadsworth was full of life. Born and raised in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada, she was a free spirit with an adventurous heart. She had grown up in a close-knit, loving family that cherished their time together, often going on road trips and spending weekends hiking. Her parents described her as kind-hearted, intelligent, and fiercely loyal. She loved to travel and always sought new experiences, eager to learn about different cultures and meet new people. Ashley had an unshakable faith. She was a devoted member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a central pillar in her life. Her belief system was not just something she practiced, but something that guided her actions. She volunteered at local shelters, participated in church youth groups, and was passionate about making a difference in the world. But despite her involvement in her community, Ashley had dreams that stretched far beyond her small hometown. She was curious about the world, and she saw the internet as a way to connect with people outside her bubble. It was 2015 when Ashley, just 12 years old, met Jack Sepple online. He was 15 at the time, living in Chelmsford, England. They started talking casually, sharing their lives, their interests, and their dreams. Over the years, their connection deepened. By the time Ashley was 18, their online friendship had blossomed into something more, a long-distance romance. To Ashley, Jack seemed charming. A devoted boyfriend who always wanted to be by her side. They talked for hours over video calls, sent gifts across the ocean, and made promises about a future together. Like many young people in love, Ashley dreamed of finally meeting Jack in person. In November 2021, she booked a flight to the UK. She was supposed to stay for 6 months. She never made it back home. At first glance, Jack Sepple appeared to be an average young man. To Ashley, he seemed caring, affectionate, and romantic. But there were things about Jack that Ashley didn't know. Jack had a troubled past, one that involved violence, control, and disturbing behavior toward women. Jack Sepple was known in his local community, but not in a good way. From a young age, he displayed troubling behavior. As a teenager, he struggled in school, often getting into fights and acting aggressively. Teachers and classmates noticed his anger issues, but no one could have predicted just how dark his path would become. His relationships had always been toxic and abusive. Several women had come forward, detailing how Jack had manipulated and physically harmed them. Restraining orders had been filed against him. Even his own mother had taken legal action against him after a violent altercation in 2014. Jack had a history of strangulation, threats, and coercive control. Previous girlfriends described him as obsessively jealous. He would check their phones, demand their passwords, and become violent when they resisted. One ex-girlfriend reported that Jack had once held her against the wall by her throat, threatening to kill her if she ever left him. But none of this was public knowledge. And Ashley, thousands of miles away, had no idea she was walking straight into the hands of a predator. Ashley had been in Chelmsford for 3 months. At first, things seemed wonderful. She posted happy pictures on social media, smiling alongside Jack. To the outside world it seemed like a romantic fairy tale. But behind closed doors the reality was much darker. Jack Sepple was controlling, possessive, and emotionally abusive. By the end of January 2022, Ashley wanted to go home. She had confided in friends that things weren't working out. She had packed her bags. Her return flight to Canada was booked for February 3rd. But Jack wasn't going to let her leave. On the afternoon of February 1st, Ashley stopped responding to texts. Hours passed. Then the police received a disturbing call. When officers arrived at the house on Tennyson Road, the scene was horrific. Ashley was lying on the bed, covered in blood. She had been stabbed over 90 times. The knife lay nearby. The walls were stained red. The sheer brutality of the attack was unlike anything investigators had seen. And Jack? He was calmly sitting next to her body, scrolling on his phone. He had even recorded videos of Ashley as she lay bleeding. He showed no remorse. Jack Sepple was arrested at the scene. There was no struggle. He didn't try to flee. It was as if he knew this moment was coming. When officers arrived at the house, they were met with a scene of pure carnage. Blood spattered the walls, the floors, and even the ceiling. The knife used in the attack lay discarded nearby, its blade coated in dried blood. The room smelled of iron and death. Jack Sepple sat on the edge of the bed, his phone in hand, casually scrolling as if nothing had happened. He made no attempt to resist arrest. When police handcuffed him, he simply muttered, "I did it." Detectives immediately secured the scene and collected crucial evidence. Forensic teams spent hours examining the crime scene. They took samples from under Ashley's fingernails, retrieved the murder weapon for analysis, and meticulously documented every blood spatter pattern. Autopsy results confirmed the severity of the attack. Ashley had suffered 90 stab wounds, primarily to her chest, face, and neck. The coroner noted that she had tried to defend herself, her hands covered in deep defensive wounds. But the attack had been too ferocious, too relentless. Jack Sepple was taken into custody and questioned by detectives. His demeanor was eerily calm. He did not cry, did not appear remorseful. He simply admitted to everything. He told investigators he had snapped in a fit of rage, but when pressed for further details he remained emotionless. Further investigation revealed Jack Sepple's dark history. Multiple ex-girlfriends came forward, detailing their terrifying experiences with him. Several had been physically assaulted. One woman described how Jack had once held a knife to her throat after accusing her of flirting with another man. Another stated that Jack had threatened to kill her family if she ever left him. Police also uncovered disturbing internet searches on Jack's phone. Just days before the murder, he had looked up, "How long does it take to bleed out? Can police track deleted messages? Murder sentencing UK minimum?" Investigators built a rock-solid case against him. They had his confession, forensic evidence, CCTV footage showing Ashley and Jack entering the house together that afternoon, and no footage of her ever leaving. Jack Sepple was charged with murder, and his trial date was set. On October 10, 2022, Jack Sepple stood before the court. The room was packed with Ashley's devastated family and friends, who had flown from Canada to attend the proceedings. Every eye in the courtroom was fixed on him. Prosecutors described the brutality of Ashley's murder in chilling detail. They played Jack's video recordings from the crime scene, footage he had taken just minutes after stabbing Ashley to death. The videos were so disturbing that some members of the jury looked away, while Ashley's family sobbed quietly in their seats. The court also heard from Ashley's grieving parents. They described their daughter as kind, loving, and full of life. Her mother, devastated, read aloud a statement. "She was my baby girl. She had her whole life ahead of her. She trusted you, Jack. And you took everything from her." When it was time for Jack to speak, he simply muttered, "I have nothing to say." The judge did not hold back. He condemned Jack Sepple as a remorseless predator who had displayed no humanity. Jack Sepple was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 23 years and 6 months. This meant that he would not be eligible for parole until at least 2045. Even then, the judge warned, it was unlikely he would ever be deemed safe for release. As the verdict was read, Jack showed no emotion. But in the back of the courtroom, Ashley's family held on to each other, relieved that justice, at least in part, had been served. Outside the courthouse, Ashley's sister spoke to reporters. "We just want people to know that Ashley was more than just a victim. She was a beautiful soul. She didn't deserve this. No one deserves this." The case sparked national conversations about domestic violence, coercive control, and the dangers of online relationships. In the wake of Ashley's murder, activists pushed for stricter regulations regarding Claire's Law, a law that allows people to inquire about their partner's history of domestic violence. Ashley's parents have since dedicated their time to raising awareness about abusive relationships, ensuring that her tragic story helps prevent future victims. Ashley Wadsworth was young, full of life, and searching for love. Instead, she walked into a nightmare. Her story is a tragic reminder of the dangers that can sometimes hide behind the screen. What do you think? Should background checks be more accessible in relationships? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video insightful, hit the like button and subscribe to True Crime Alibi for more deep dives into real-life cases. Stay tuned. Next time we're covering a case that will leave you speechless. Until then, stay safe.